Hello, everyone. My name is Lori Nova Endres with thenovastudio.com, and we are here for our live Q&A for soap making ingredients and supplies. I also have in the background here my trusty partner, Cassie. She will be helping out with some things in the chat and behind the scenes to make sure everything runs smoothly. I could not operate the Nova Studio without her. And actually yesterday was just her Novaversary, as I call it. She's been with me for 12 years. Can you believe that? I'm gonna pin you for a minute. Cassie, is that okay? Okay, just so you can say hi real quick.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cassie. I'm very much a behind the scenes kind of a person, but it is fun sometimes to be on video and be a part of the fun every now and then.
Thanks, Cassie. I will put myself back on the pin there. There we go. Okay. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but it is fun when she's able to be here with me during one of these sessions. I do a lot of these over the weekend and in the evenings. So it's kind of nice to be doing one when she's here as well. So thanks everybody for coming, and I'm just gonna kind of jump right in. I'm going to be we're going to be focusing today on cold process soap making as the soap making method, and we're going to talk about ingredients. We're going to talk about where to purchase ingredients if you have questions, and if you have questions as I go along, feel free to put them in the chat, and I will get to them as soon as I kind of go through the list. I'll start with the questions that are in the chat. And I'd love to know, as we're starting here, those of you who are here watching it live with me or participating live, go ahead and put into the chat. You can, it would be helpful for me to know where you're from, because in different parts of the country, we have different suppliers that we like. So sometimes shipping is a big difference in price if you're in a different part of the country. So go ahead and put where you're from, where you are actually going to be making the soap. And also go ahead and put in there whether or not you've made cold process soap before. If you've never made it, you know, call yourself a newbie or brand new. If you have made it once or twice, go ahead and say, you know, I've made it once, made it twice. If you've made a bunch of batches, intermediate, advanced, whatever you are, go ahead and say it in the chat there. And that'll just help me kind of gauge my answers and make them relevant to everybody who is here. I assume that most of you are going to be brand new, or maybe someone like Yvonne, who just said she's made it once, took classes at the studio when it was in Point Richmond. Awesome. Yes, the good old days, right? So I've got people from, I'm in Ohio, living in Ohio now. Cassie is in Sacramento, California. Tracy's in Chicago. Yvonne's in Northern California. Shawana is in, Charlotte, North Carolina. Awesome. And we've got newbie, beginner, newbie, taken a 2-day workshop. Okay, so most of you are on the beginner side, which is what I would have expected. Yes, cold process soap, awesome. And Barbara, you just messaged in the chat, but you did it directly to me. There's a place for you to change who you want it to go to. If you want it to go to everyone, you can select everyone so that everybody could see, but thank you. So Barbara's intermediate. She has made cold process soap. Excellent. So what I thought I would do is I would start out with an ingredient checklist. And this is a document that I have created for our newest e-class, which is called Soap Making with an Oil Blend. And I spend so many hours, you would not believe, like a ridiculous amount of hours going over these handouts, creating them, editing them, improving them, formatting them. And I thought, you know, why not share some helpful information with with people through a Q&A like this. So we're going to give everyone access to the ingredient checklist that comes from my new e-class that's called Soap Making with an Oil Blend. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see it, and we're going to go through it together. Here we go. All right. Can everyone see this? Everyone see the ingredient checklist here? Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Awesome. Okay. So we will give you a link to this. Actually, Cassie, if you don't mind, go ahead and put the link to this in the chat for everybody. And what you can do so that you don't, get sidetracked from the session, you can just click on it. It'll open it up in a browser. And then when we're done with Zoom, that will still be open. And we will also send it to you in a follow-up email after this to make sure that in case that window gets closed for you, to make sure you have it. So basically what we're starting with is you really only need 3 ingredients. You need 3 ingredients in order to make soap, right? You need some type of oil or fat. You need sodium hydroxide, aka lye, and you need a liquid. Typically what we use is distilled water. Sometimes we can substitute out an alternative liquid, but these are really the only 3 ingredients you need in order to make soap. And what you can do is you actually could make soap just from 1 oil. It wouldn't be a great soap, but olive oil is probably the most common one that you've heard of, like a Castile soap, or one that's made predominantly or entirely of olive oil. But really the best type of soap, the one that is nice on the skin, that lathers well without stripping, a really well-made cold processed soap has more than 1 oil, because each of these oils contribute something unique and special to the blend that individual oils cannot do on their own, in my opinion. So what we have here are, I'm just gonna make sure I have the chat window open as well so I can see. Now, if you have a question as I'm going along, feel free to put it in the chat. And if I don't see it immediately, I will promise to come back to it, okay? So when it comes to, we're going to go over each of these first, and then down here we have some optional ingredients as well, like scenting. Most people like to scent their soap, but obviously you don't have to. Coloring, people like to color, but you don't have to. An exfoliant that might make it slightly abrasive to soften your skin and also help kick up lather. That's some type of exfoliant, like oatmeal is probably one of my favorite exfoliants, ground oatmeal. Other types of herbs, some of these might be exfoliants. I'm sorry, other types of additives. Some of these may be also an exfoliant, but they might be an additive for a different reason, like just for some visual appeal, like a powdered herb or a cosmetic grade clay, right? That also might color your soap. So some of these categories are multi, for a clay, it might color, it might be an exfoliant depending on how gritty it is. Something like sodium lactate, right, which is an ingredient that's used to help harden the soap and help it unmold easier, especially out of silicone molds. And then, as I mentioned, if you don't want to use water, I would always recommend using water as a new soap maker. It's really the easiest and the best thing to use. And I still use water the majority of the time. But if you're somebody who just has a desire to make more, a soap that has maybe more soothing properties, you might want to make a milk soap. Or if you have kind of a brand that has a lean towards particular type of ingredients, like a friend of mine has a company that is about that features kind of foodie ingredients. And so, she might want to use, or she does use, things like coffee or beer in her soaps. So it really depends, what type of soap you want to make. But just keep in mind, especially as a beginner, that using any kind of alternative liquid really is going to make the soap process potentially more challenging. And so it's always good, I think, to start with just distilled water. It keeps things easy, and you want to get 1 or 2 successful batches under your belt before you branch out into some of these other ingredients that are fun, but could also be a little bit problematic. So let's go back up to the fats and oils. So what I have been using lately and what I really, really appreciate in terms of time saving and just a way to make soap making easier is this Nurture Soap Oil Blend. And what that is it's a combination of 40% olive oil, 25% coconut, 25% palm, and they use the sustainable organic round table RSPO palm, which is the only type that I use. And also we've got in here 5% castor and 5% sweet almond oil. So that's what their blend is. This is very similar to the recipe that we give in our CP 101 class. It's just slightly different, but the soap is going to be just as good. It's going to be, it's going to perform well. It's going to have that nice lather. The olive oil gives you a mild soap, a very gentle soap, but one that doesn't lather very much. The coconut and the palm are going to add bubbles. They're going to add lather. They're going to add actually different sizes of bubbles. I think coconut has really large bubbles. Palm has smaller bubbles. So mixing 2 oils that have large and small bubbles, you get a nice, rich lather with a lot of different, with a lot of bubble activity, which people like. 5% castor oil. Castor oil just adds a little bit of a very unique type of oil, which has ricinoleic fatty acid in it. It's the only oil that has this particular fatty acid, and it adds a creaminess to the bar and to the lather, but we don't want to use very much because castor oil also will make a very soft soap. So right around 5% is kind of my favorite place to be with castor. So that's what I love about this blend. And the 5% of sweet almond oil. Sweet almond oil is just kind of it's a nut oil. It's one that, you know, I don't think it has any particularly amazing properties for soap in and of itself. Although if you look up, you know, what makes sweet almond oil great, I'm sure you'll find some things about it, right? Because every oil is unique. But I'm not sure why they have this in there. For whatever reason, they just wanted to have that in there. And so this is their recipe. So you could either buy the ingredients separately, your soap making oils separately. In this case, you would be buying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different oils. And that's how most people learn how to make soap from scratch, right? Raise your hand or put in the chat if this is how you learned how to make soap with individual oils, and each oil you have to purchase. Yeah, Yvonne says yes. You have to purchase the oil, you have to weigh it out, and then you have to combine it with the other oils in the blend. Barbara says yes, Lauren says yes. So that's the very traditional way. That's how I learned. That's how we've always taught all these years in our Cold Process 101 class. But over the years, with as many batches of soap as I've made, that gets to be a little bit tedious, not only on the making day, the day that you're actually combining those oils, but also when it comes to ordering, right? Let's say you got all your oils, but as you can see here, you have different percentages of them. So it's almost inevitable that you're going to end up running out of 1 or 2 or 3 of these oils. You have to reorder those before you have to reorder the others. And now you're basically purchasing and keeping inventory of 5 different oils, or however many are in your recipe. And that can be a bit cumbersome. So a soap making oil blend is something that you buy one product, when it's out, you reorder the product, and you just don't have to keep tabs on how many ounces of each you have left, you know, where are you going to get the next one. So that's kind of my pitch for why I love the soap oil blend. This one was so similar to my recipe that that's kind of what I noticed about it initially. And before I ever even tried it, I knew it was going to create an awesome soap, and it has. It's lived up to my expectation of it. So does anybody have any questions specifically here about the oils or fats that you need to make soap. Obviously, you can use just about any oil that you want to. You would need some knowledge of formulating, right, in order to know, well, what happens if I substitute, that coconut oil for palm kernel, which those are very similar. You could do a swap like that if you happen to have a lot of palm kernel and not very much coconut. Lauren asked, what can you substitute for palm oil? So that is something that, there is a controversy, I guess, around palm oil. Most of us have heard of that. And basically, when it comes to palm oil, everyone just needs to make a decision for themselves. I personally am okay with using it as long as it's purchased from companies that participate in this roundtable on sustainable palm oil. The majority of palm oil is used in foods. It is a big thing in soap making as well, but it's huge in the food industry. And I think it's interesting that people are, no, I will absolutely not put palm oil in my soap. And yet, if you look at the ingredients of what you're eating in your pantry, there's a lot of palm oil in foods. So, but if you have, what I would say first is, I would recommend to educate yourself on palm. I do believe that those areas that grow palm oil for to sustain their life, their living, they need that income. If everyone stopped using palm oil, it would create a serious problem for a lot of those communities and a lot of those areas. So to me, the problem is with how it's created, how it's harvested, making sure it's done in a sustainable way. So that's why I support the companies that sell that type. And let me go ahead and click on the blend and see if we can get a link for that. And then I will come back to Tracy's actual question. Can everybody see my screen here? The Nurture Soap Making Oil Blend. Did I share it with you? Yeah, okay, awesome. Thanks. Thanks so much. So this is the page on Nurture Soap's website that talks about their oil blend. And if we go down here, this is where you can see that they use the organic and sustainable RSPO palm oil. And for those who are interested, RSPO palm oil. So here is it for anybody who wants to look it up. I'll pop this in the chat. Okay, so you can read about it here and all that they do to make sure that palm oil is grown in a way that that is, the most environmentally friendly and animal friendly that it can be. So back to Lauren's question. So as far as the substitute, palm oil, this isn't a formulating class, so I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole on changing oils and creating a recipe, but basically, in order to swap out an oil, let me get back to my thing here. In order to swap out an oil, what we need is we need to have an understanding. Oops, sorry, let me get back to the link that Cassie put in here for us. Okay. In order to swap out any oil, you need to know quite a few things. The first thing is what the properties of that specific oil are. And then the second one is you have to know how to calculate using a lye calculator. You have to put the oils that you're using. If you change even 1 ounce of an oil, you need to go to a lye calculator. And I've linked my favorite one here, which is Majestic Mountain Sage. There's also a Soap Calc link here, which brings you to the a printout of a Soap Calc recipe using the Nurture Soap Oil Blend, just so that you can learn a little bit more about it. So you can kind of see some of the information there. But the best substitute for palm oil is some sort of a combination. It needs something with stearic acid, which is what hard oils have. And shea butter is one of the typical oils that people use as a substitute for palm oil. So whether or not you would want to use 25% shea butter, that would be quite expensive. So I'm not sure, if you would want to do that. But shea butter is the main oil that you should probably look at if you're looking to swap that out. Now, I do believe that on our blog, we have some, I think we have some palm-free recipes. Keyword search. We have yeah, here we go. 3 free 3 palm-free soap recipes. I'll go ahead and link this in there for Lauren or anybody else who wants it. And if you scroll down, here are some. This is kind of what I would consider to be like a very inexpensive blend. He's using soybean shortening. It's best if you can find it with 100% soybean, but that's not my favorite oil to use. It can lead to dreaded orange spots, which means the soap is going bad. But this is a recipe if you just kind of want to play around with an inexpensive blend here, okay, that does not have palm oil. Here's one from our teacher, Jen: olive oil, coconut oil. She's using mango butter here at 25%, but you could also swap out shea butter. She has a little bit of shea here, but you could put shea instead of mango. And then there's one down here. It's just a really simple olive oil with some coconut oil and a little bit of jojoba. So there are a couple of recipes there for you. Tracy asked, what's the difference between unrefined and refined oils? Good question, Tracy. So basically, let me get back to my thing here. Basically, when you have an unrefined oil, what you have is something that is closer to its natural state, right? You have something that is more pure, more unique in what it brings to the table, right? Whatever properties of that particular oil. So for instance, hazelnut oil, I've had unrefined hazelnut oil before, or unrefined macadamia nut oil. I used to use them in salad dressings. They're delicious. They have some of the aroma and the flavor of those oils. They typically have a shorter shelf life though. So for that reason, I don't know that I would want them in soap making. But even if you were going to use up the soap quickly, that wouldn't matter if you were going to use up the soap quickly, basically. But typically, oils are refined when they're purchased for soap making. Coconut oil has something that's called RBD, which means refined, bleached, and deodorized. That is a typical type of coconut oil that is purchased or is sold for not only the soap making industry, but also for the food industry. So that's the typical kind that you would go to, like maybe a Smart and Final or somewhere on line and purchased coconut oil for soap making. With coconut oil, you have 2 different types. You have 76 degree or 90, I think is it 90, 98 degree. Yeah, I think that's 92 degree. Yeah, you have 76 degree and 92 degree for coconut oil. Either one is okay to use. Basically, the 76 degree, that's the melting temperature for it. So your oil is going to melt more at room temperature at the 76 degrees, as long as your room temperature is around there. Or if it's 92 degree, it's going to be harder. And if you're in cold climates, or like I have a cold basement, if I bought the 92 degree, it would be harder to scoop out. Whereas the 76 degree might actually turn to a liquid if I lived in a area that was warm and I had, let's say I was storing it in my garage and my garage got really hot. So, all of these decisions and questions of what oils to use really go, you don't have to deal with any of this if you purchase a soap making oil blend. And there are other companies that have them as well. I originally used the one from Mission Peak Soap, my teacher David Critchfield's company, but unfortunately that's no longer in business. David retired. And so when they stopped selling it, I think they were the first and only making what they called Soap Quick. That was his name for it, which I thought was really clever because it's called Soap Quick because it makes soap making quicker, makes soap making easier. So the fact that, when he's created it, some companies started to kind of copy him. And then when he stopped selling it, I do see more and more companies selling it. It's just the one that I'm familiar with and the one that is closest to my recipe is this particular one. But you might be able to find one out there that's a palm-free soap making blend. You can do a search for that on Google and you might be able to find one. And, the key with any of the soap making oil blends is to buy a quantity of it and then try it out and then see what you think of the soap. So I kind of created an entire e-class, not only around using the soap, the oil blend, but also just, additional things that people would want to learn, like using sodium lactate, doing a water discount, things that would make the soap be ready to come out of the mold and also be able to be used a little bit sooner, right? Because we're running out of time here to make soap. It's October, end of October. We're running out of time to make soap before the holidays. So I wanted a recipe for my upcoming soap making that is going to cure a little bit quicker. And that's where a water discount comes in, and also using sodium lactate, which is one of those optional ingredients that is on the list, also on my my PDF, the ingredient checklist. So Barbara said the soap making oil blend reminds her of master batching. Exactly. Yes. Master batching is something that if you're making lots of soap, instead of every time you make soap, measuring out your 4 or 5 or 6 different oils, what you would do is you would combine a larger amount of the oils, same percentage, and you melt it all, and then you portion that out. Let's say you want to make, I make 4-pound batches typically, so that's a nice size. It makes around 18 bars. And if I wanted to measure double of all my oils, melt it, weigh it out, and then divide it into 2. It's a little bit of extra weighing and measuring, but you're just doing it that one time. And then when you're ready to make soap, you're ready to go and you have these oil blends. Exactly. And in that case, you're kind of creating your own Soap Quick blend or your own soap making oil blend. So yeah, if you have a recipe and you're like, yeah, I just really don't want to change my recipe, but I want to make soap making easier, you can do that method where you're essentially master batching your oils. And actually Kenna on our website, Kenna has a handout, not a handout, but what is it called? Let's see here. We have scaling up production as a category. And then, yeah, it's here. It's called efficiency in scaling for anybody who wants to learn how to make larger batches, make soap quicker, all of that. This is called Efficiency in Scaling Intro to Master Batching. And that is an ebook that we have from Kenna. And just to show you the class that I spent all the time with for this specific oil blend, why I know it so well and why I love it, is last year in November, I did a virtual soap making weekend, and the videos that I did on that are here. I put them into this new e-class called Cold Process Soap Making Using an Oil Blend. And this is what it looks like here. This is the Nurture Soap Oil Blend. This is an 8-pound container. They also have one that's just under 4 pounds. It's like 3.9, because that's all that would fit into the container. But I absolutely love this, this for making soap quicker. And this is what I do to kind of warm it up a little bit, because it gets slightly solid at the bottom. So I just put it in my sink with really warm water and let it sit there for a little bit. And then I shake it up before I pour it into my soap pot. So with an 8-pound container, you could make 2 4-pound batches, or you could make, you know, any number. You could make 4 2-pound batches. You can make 8 1-pound batches, right? You decide how much you want to make. The key though, anytime you're using a blend of oils, whether it's your blend or someone else's, is that you want to make sure that that blend is not any part solid, right? You want to make sure it's completely melted and liquid. Shake it up really well before you portion it out, right? Because if your palm oil or coconut oil, the hard oils settle to the bottom, which they will, and solidify, and you pour off the top, you're not getting the complete mixture, and that's going to throw off your lye amount. So that's something that you just want to be a little bit careful of. But these soaps that I made in the last virtual soap weekend, I actually have one of them right here. This is the lavender one there. The videos from that I put into this e-class. So if you want to see like the whole process and all the steps involved in there, this is the apple cider one that I made. Actually, that guy's right here. I haven't used that one yet. But, and you know, I do things like putting mica on the top and different things like that. So that particular e-class is like a on-demand type of a class that you can buy anytime. Oh, here's the link for the RSPO as well. This is just something if you want to go at your own pace and learn about this on its own. And then if I am doing a virtual soap making weekend, like I'm doing in a couple of weeks, that one is actually, you get included in this, you get the e-class for you can see it's the same pictures and the same soap. You get all of the videos and then demos and things that come with that. So basically the virtual soap weekend is something that would be, if you just kind of want some help, you know, you just need a deadline, you need accountability partners. That's kind of what I need to actually get soap made, because it's the end of October right now, right before we know it, it's going to be too late to make soap. And we have about our 6-week date is approaching. What happened to my thing here? Our 6-week date is approaching, right? If we want to make soap for the holidays, we have to make soap by November 13th. That is the 6-week date. So very, very important. So if anyone has any questions about lye, I also purchased my lye from Nurture Soap. That is a reputable soap making company. Any company that you order other things from that you think is reputable should have decent lye for soap making. You just don't want to buy from a hardware store. A lot of those brands of lye are for when you are just cleaning drains, and they might have a little bit of metal or something. If you ever see any black specks in it, that is not something that you want to use for soap making. On this form here, there's a link to some lye safety information and a very short video from one of our teachers, Ruth, that's here on our blog. So that's just like a 5-minute video clip. You can watch that if you are a little bit nervous about working with lye and you want to understand it more. Then Cassie, if you are there, maybe you can put that link for Ruth's blog post in there. Let's see here. When it comes to water, don't get fancy with the kind of water. Some people are like, oh, can I use filtered water, or can I use this type of water, or alkaline water, or rainwater that I've collected? the thing about soap making is it is a science experiment, right? And anytime you're doing a scientific experiment, you want to have as many constants as possible. And distilled water is always distilled water, right? It's not going to be this filtration system or that filtration system. It's going to be different. And distilled water has a very, it's like a blank slate as far as it doesn't have any like minerals in it. It's not good to drink, right? Because it's not healthy. But when it comes to soap making, it has things that we don't want in our soap, impurities and things that are not going to, it's not going to cause a problem. It's going to be your most baseline, easiest type of water that's going to give you the most success. So that's really, really important. And that's why, you know, people use distilled water in coffee machines, in any kind of device, like a humidifier, you're supposed to use distilled water, any device that you don't want that lime scale or mineral buildup on the devices. It's the same thing. You know, it can actually, that type of stuff can, it won't like send your whole batch, you know, failing, but it can contribute to a type of bar that doesn't last as long, that goes bad quicker due to oxidation. So that's really important. Yvonne is asking a question about mica. Are mica okay for the environment? You mean like, is it a healthy thing to put in your soap? Is that what you mean? I think that's probably what you mean.
No,
But
more in terms of the waterways in the ocean
oh,
when it rinses out.
oh, that's a good question. I've never heard specifically in like the 20 years I've been doing this, I've never heard anybody say mica is bad for the waterways. And I mean, I guess you could imagine, you know, anything that goes into the oceans, right? Anything that is not totally pure and clean could potentially cause a problem, right? For some creature, no matter of what size. So that I've never actually really thought too much about. I more think about it when I'm coloring soap as in we're not using a lot, right? We're using a little. I don't think mica is big enough. Like the particle size is so small. I don't think it's big enough. Like I know that when people were using those microbeads, those plastic microbeads in like facial cleansers, for instance, or in body washes, there was a big thing not too long ago, right? About that. Those are harmful for the water and the fish and everything. So like, do not use little plastic microscopic little beads, but I've never heard that about mica before. But if you're that type of person who's like, I'm just concerned, right? A lot of us are concerned about the state of this planet. We're like killing it, right? So if that's even a concern at all to you, the beauty of it is you don't need it, right? You don't need it. So one of these like this soap right here, there's your pure nothing. It's a slightly off-white color using this particular blend. You know, the other thing you could use is a clay. Clays are, you know, from the earth. So that's something that I think would be maybe a more earth friendly selection than, and I love clays. I absolutely love clays. It's something that down here, I've linked right here. I've linked a group of on Nurture Soap's website of their clays. And they have I think they have a sampler somewhere. If you put in, let's see. There it is. Yeah. I have this. It's just little containers of, it's like 5 gram jars of 5 different types of Brazilian clays. I'll throw the link in there. Or actually, Cassie, do you mind putting the link in there for the Nurture Soap clay? And now keep in mind, see how it says purple. Oh, actually, yeah, you can just copy and paste the link, Cassie, off of the PDF for me. Purple Brazilian clay, it's not really purple. Don't get too excited about that one. It's I'm going to go with purple in quotes. It's not very purple. Same thing with all the colors. They're not very bright. They're very muted. They're muddy looking, which makes sense, right? Because they are from the ground. They're like clays are like mud. So you know, but they are nice to just create a little bit of visual interest on the soap. And they are one of my favorite colors for cold process soap making, because clays are what you see is what you get, right? It's not going to morph or change like a dye or some micas might. So I really, really like clays as a natural color. Now, you do have to make sure that where you're buying the clay from is a place that's selling it for use on the body, which means cosmetic grade. I got really excited when we were in Point Richmond because a clay manufacturer moved in to our area, and I called them and I was so excited, and I was like, can we use your clays in soap? And they were like, I don't know. And as I talked to them a little bit more, I determined no, because clays that are made for pottery don't have the same level of purity. There are a lot of clays and things that you could dig up from the ground that have harmful materials like lead, like arsenic, things that are not good. So the clays that are created for going on the skin, like from a company like this, you can feel good about it. I would not get clays on Amazon. I wouldn't get anything on Amazon, quite frankly, with the exception of, you know, things like a stick blender or, you know, a thermometer or things that are not actual materials. I don't like to purchase any raw materials on Amazon. I just don't trust it. You don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know what you're getting. And I would stay away from that. Question. Yvonne says, does lye have a shelf life or expiration date? That's a good question. It does have like a potency, right? Where when it shows up at your house, at your door, it is going to be its most, trying to get back to my page here. Here we go. It's going to be at its most strong, at its most potent. And what will happen when you let it sit there, right, in your house, it's going to, over time, become less potent because it's going to absorb moisture from the air. So that's why we always want to keep lye in a container as airtight as possible with a tight fitting lid. If you are making a lot of soap, some people will purchase, I never did this because I was never comfortable with it, but a 50-pound bag of lye, right? You open that thing up and you have to store it somewhere. And lye is a little bit tricky. It can get staticky and it can kind of go airborne and it can stick to things. And you just, even when I made more soap or when we did it at the studio, we would buy the 2-pound containers. That's kind of the standard size, the 2-pound containers that I felt comfortable with. I just didn't trust the larger sizes. But if you're cranking out soap, you're gonna need to move to a level that's more than the 2-pound container. But I just like that they stay fresh, that they all stay there. And we have a question from Tracy. I've been searching locally for oils. The shipping costs so expensive. Any vendor suggestions for reasonable shipping? Yeah. And Tracy, let me see where you said you are, what part of the country. Chicago. Okay, so you're like East Coast. So there is so there are a couple places for you to look for supplies. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. And basically, okay, if you go to our website, right, here's the Nova Studio, here's our homepage. Can everybody see my screen? Yeah, okay. So resources, this tab over here, suppliers and links. Do you see that one there? This is where you can go. And these are companies that we've used for a really long time. This first chunk are ones that are also affiliates. So if you click on our link and go to their website, you know, it'll give us a little bit of money from your purchase. I would never, ever in a million years put a company on here that I didn't wholeheartedly believe in before I turn them into an affiliate. So this is where you have some like the Nurture soap equipment. This is an essential oil company I'll tell you about in a minute. Mountain Rose Herbs is great, From Nature with Love. So all these are great. Those are the affiliates. Below that, you have other recommended suppliers that are non-affiliates. Doesn't mean that we like them any less. We still love them. TKB Trading, Lotion Crafter, Baraka Shea Butter is a wonderful place to get butters and some oils from. They're a company that you can go to and read about their palm oil and how, you know, it is, you can buy it and feel good about purchasing it. Also, their shea butter and their cocoa butter, they're very connected with the women and the communities who produce it. Brambleberry, Essential Wholesale. One that is not on here that I will recommend for oils is Soaper's Choice. And they're also called Columbus Foods. When I first moved to Ohio, I got all excited because I'm kind of like an hour away from Columbus. I thought, oh, I could go there and pick it up. They're not in Columbus, Ohio. I think they're actually in Illinois. So they are on the East Coast though, so you might look into them as far as what their prices are. Now, shipping is definitely a concern, right? Shipping is a concern always. So one thing that you can do is you can go to a site like Soaper's Choice that has good quality products at a good price and look at what it is and put it in your cart and see if you can get the shipping. And you can also look at another company is Wholesale Supplies Plus. They are in northern Ohio, pretty far from me, but they include shipping. They have free shipping on orders over $25, which basically means that you know, you're paying for the shipping in the cost of it. So this is a good place to go to see. They have the soap making supplies, and then where's the, here you go, base oils, specialty oils. Here's their oils. And the nice thing about that is you kind of see what the charge is, right? With the, so it's a good place to kind of price check. Nurture Soap also, by the way, has free shipping above, what is it? I think it's like $30. So it's a really low price. Yeah, right here, free shipping over $30 to the 48 contiguous states. So, you know, that's if you wanted to, like for instance, with our upcoming virtual soap making weekend, one of the options is to choose for us to order some of the supplies for you. So it's basically these two things, the 8 pounds of oil blend and 2 pounds of lye. And you're going to have a little bit of lye left over, but you know, we're just adding $60 on for that. And when you get that, you can make soap, but you might not have a scent or a color, right? You might want to do colors, you might want to do scents, you might want to get a mold. So you can then come over here to Nurture Soap site and you could start to put in, the different things that you're looking for, right? Here's all products. There's fragrance oils, and I'll talk about that really quickly too. They are starting to sell essential oils. So if you're already ordering other things from there, you can check out their essential oils. I keep closing the link for the handout that I'm giving you. Let me get back to my chat. Here we go. All right, let's see, where are we here? Here's the link to the chat once again. Okay, so back on this list here. So as far as scents go, you'll have all these links in your in the handout that we're giving here. And Cassie, if you don't mind going ahead and putting that link again in the chat, if anybody came in late, they won't see the previous chat that we've had here. So, you know, take a little bit of time with these links, but basically, oh, let me unmute. There we go. Basically, when I was setting up for my virtual soap weekend, I needed a company that could do good quality oils at a really good price quickly, right? We don't want to wait weeks to get an oil if we want to make soap quickly. So this company is called Original Essential Oils that I linked. And I've used their oils for soap making for probably almost 2 years now. And they have really excellent quality oils. And what I love about them is that, you know, when it comes to essential oils, this is one of the most expensive parts of your soap batch, right? If you made a batch with essential oils or without, your batch without would be a lot less costly. So this is definitely a consideration when you're purchasing. So on the, let me get back here. I need to open it up in its own screen. Here we go. So on here, I have a link to another PDF. If you haven't seen it from us, another free PDF. Cassie, you can put a link in there for this. This is my top 10 essential oils for cold processed soap. How many of you have seen this that we offer? So this is a very old thing that I did, and it's one of the most popular printable giveaways that we have for people, because if you're starting out, you just don't know what type of scents to buy. So here are some scents here, and it also tells you how to calculate how much to actually use. So things like lavender is just a classic. Sweet orange is one of my favorites. The 5-fold variety is definitely the better one to use for soap making, because citruses are a top note, which means that they evaporate pretty quickly. So a folded citrus oil is one that is concentrated, and you're going to get more of the citrus scent sticking around in your soap, which is, you know, that's why we're using it, right? For the scent, we want it to stick around. So we have lemon, let's say cubeba, which is another lemony smelling plant. It's like a shrub. It's more of a middle note than lemon, which is a top note, and lemon tends to be fleeting, again, unless you get a folded variety. I mix these two together, lemon and Litsea, for my lemon poppy seed soap. So those are nice to mix together. So these are just some ideas, and a lot of these blend well together. Spearmint with lavender, mints go together, peppermint, spearmint, rosemary goes with lavender, goes with lemon. You know, most of these go really well together. And these are kind of, you know, some favorites and ones that aren't too expensive. It's just going to put it out of the price range for what makes sense for anybody to do. If you're using essential oils that are like, you know, $20 for 1 ounce, you know, it's just too expensive. So that's where I would recommend you checking out that Original Essential Oils company. That is, they have excellent prices. And what I really like about their essential oils is that they have all the different sizes, right? Let me just go find one here, a common one. I'll just do the lavender. Lavender 4042. This is a common, less expensive lavender typically. So they've got all these different sizes. You could get a 1/2 ounce just to smell it. But then the 4 ounce size, which I feel like is the size that would be the right size to try if you're going to be making soap, just get the 4 ounce size. It's $12.86 right now, which is a pretty good price. And I think if you buy over 100, yeah, they give free shipping on over 100, which, you know, if you just want to buy maybe 8 oils, you'll probably get to 100, and then you'll have a really good selection of essential oils to use, not only in soap making, but also in other things like lotions or scrubs, or, you know, whatever else you would like to make. So, yeah, and when it comes to colors and fragrance oils, actually, let me just show you this on the Nurture Soap website. what I love about them as a supplier is on this left-hand sidebar, they have what you can select for the fragrance oils. So you don't want acceleration, which makes the soap speed up very quickly and do what's called seizing. You don't want that. Then if you don't want discoloration, sometimes the fragrance will turn your soap a shade of brown sometimes. So perfect performance gives you nice, good behavior. They have some that are fragrance oil and essential oil blends. So you might want to check those out. If you like the smell of natural, but you kind of want to dabble in a little bit of the fragrance oil area. I tend to prefer essential oils very much, but every once in a while there's a fragrance oil, like the Comfort and Joy from Nurture Soap that I used in my e-class. I just love it. It smells like apple cider and it's so good for the holidays. But 99% of my soaps are going to be essential oils only, just because that's my preference. The phthalate free is kind of important. You don't want to be using fragrance oils with phthalates. That is something that's been proven to be harmful. And if, perfect world, nobody would be selling fragrances with phthalates, but unfortunately they do. So we just want to make sure that we're only purchasing, if you are doing fragrance oils, make sure to check the phthalate free, and then it keeps filtering them for you. It has, like, I love fruity, so I would put fruity here, and then it narrows it down. And then what you can do is you go into a particular scent, you go into one, and then you can read the reviews to see what people think about it and how it acted, right? You can see here that most people love this. This is a really popular one. I think it's called Smell the Rainbow. It's like a Skittles type of fragrance, but most people love it. And you can see very specifically down here, what people liked about it and what people didn't like about it. So that's really helpful. Whether you're looking at essential oils or fragrance oils, you're going to want to, get a little bit of information before you purchase it. So, yeah. And then the last couple things on my list there are, I lost it again. Keep losing this guy. There we go. Go back to it. The last couple things on here are the exfoliants or additives. And, I linked a company called From Nature with Love just because they had a good selection of exfoliants. And this is an antioxidant that I use, ROE, rosemary oleo resin extract. They don't sell this everywhere. I linked to a place called the Sage, the Majestic Mountain Sage. And that's where one of the places you can purchase it. You can also purchase it at Lotion Crafter. I think Wholesale Supplies Plus might have it. There's quite a few places there. So we are at just over an hour. Whenever I teach a class or do a Q&A, there's always so many topics that come up, and I probably bit off a little bit more than I can chew in terms of what we could actually do in an hour. But I'd love to know from those of you who are here, if you have a better understanding of the ingredients that are necessary to make soap, some of the optional ingredients, and where you can get them. And if you have any questions right now, would be the time to put them into the chat, and I'd be happy to answer them. And if you have a question and you'd like to unmute yourself, feel free to do that as well. If you have a question on any of these categories: oils, lye, water, scents, colors, exfoliants, additives, antioxidants, or alternative liquids. All right, I've got a couple questions here in the chat. Thank you. Yvonne said this is a great reminder of the process. Thank you. You're welcome. Barbara said great overview. Thank you. Shawana said, what kind of mold do you recommend we purchase? So Shawana's actually signed up for my virtual soap making weekend. Also, Barbara is signed up as well. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks for that. But the mold that I recommend that you start with if you've never made soap before, honestly, is a shoebox. It's the easiest type. I'm going to go here under cold process soap. It's the easiest type. It's the easiest thing to use, and it works really well. So this is our cold process 101 e-class that we've had for a while. We keep making it better, by the way. We keep adding more videos. But you can see right here in this presentation that Ruth did, we're just pouring this right into a shoebox. And when we taught our CP 101 class at the Nova Studio for all the years we did, it always was poured into a shoebox because, you know, if you're just making soap for the first time, you may or may not like it. You know, I mean, I would bet 99, you know, at 99 times out of 100, you're going to love it. But, you know, why spend? You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars, right? Before you make your first batch. A shoebox, which is, I think I made my first batch in a copier box top because this lady I took a class from told me to make really big batches. She made huge batches, which I was really afraid of. That's just crazy. But there, we lined it with freezer paper just the same. And there is on our blog, if you search, if you've never lined a mold before, soap mold line, yeah. We have a blog post that shows how to line a mold with freezer paper. There's a couple actually in here. Reynolds plastic coated freezer paper, that is the wrap that we use. And actually, this is a clip from my last year's virtual soap making class weekend where I do it on video right there. So, and then here's the kind of the steps on how you do it. So I'll pop this in there if anybody wants that. Okay. But once you graduate from a shoebox or any kind of cardboard, you know, it could be a wood mold, silicone. I use, what do I use in the virtual? I think I use a silicone molds. And yeah, that's kind of what's fun about the soap making with an oil blend e-class is that I just used different things than we used in the CP 101. So, different things like molds, you know, different things. But yeah, this one's another shoebox because this was my simple lavender recipe. So this soap right here came from a shoebox. Nobody would be able to tell, right? I used a cute, like a crinkle cutter on the sides there. And then for this second one, you can see I use these silicone molds. I use two different kind of silicone molds in there. And also in this video, I kind of show you how to do a vein with mica of color. And I kind of texture the tops and brush mica on. And I use little mini silicone molds. I just try to do a lot of different things. So even though it's a beginner, maybe I guess I'd call it a beginner class because I start at the beginning, I also just fill it in with so much additional information for anybody who's been making soap, but also just kind of wants to see some new things. So let's see, what else do I have here in the chat? Does that answer your question, Shawana? Is that what kind of a mold do I recommend? And again, you'll see some other options in that virtual class that you're signed up for. But I would say just start with a shoebox, you know, why not? Brandy wants to know, will there be a recording? Since this is just a Q&A and not a class or anything like that, we aren't planning on like capturing it permanently, but in case you missed part of this or you had to run, we will send out a link with a recording and it'll be available just for a limited time for a couple of days. So we will have that. And you'll get that link via email as well for the printable checklist. And when I like the reason I call this a checklist, right, is that I have the boxes so that every time you go to make a batch of soap, you can just print this out and you can be like, okay, I'm making soap. What do I need? Oh yeah, like sometimes I've been making soap for so long, but sometimes I still forget. Okay, what do I need? Like it's been a while since I made soap. So in creating this checklist, believe it or not, I still use my own instructions from my handouts when I'm making soap. Just to make sure I don't miss a step, right? So pull this out, put a date at the top for the batch you're making, check off, making sure you have everything. This will be when you're ordering, you know, check everything off. And this is one of the checklists that I have in my class. I have another one for supplies and equipment, which is just like a whole other topic, but that's one of the things that we cover in the new e-class and the virtual soap weekend. Let's see. Barbara said a milk carton, very tricky. I'm not sure if those were supposed to be together. Barbara, were those together? But yeah, you can definitely use a milk carton as long as you clean it well. You actually don't have to line it, right? Because it has that wax coating. And then when you're done using it, you can tear it off the soap. Is that what you meant, Barbara? Oh, I don't know if she's here or she can hear. Yep. Is that what you meant, Barbara? Yeah, she's shaking her head. Okay, great. Yes, milk cartons are definitely like, if you want to just like be the like recycled, use up whatever you have, that's a great thing to use. I have a collection of shoe boxes that's kind of embarrassing. Every time one person in my family buys a pair of shoes, which is a lot lately, I save that shoe box. I don't know what I'm going to do with them all. I'm going to hopefully start having some more in-person classes in Ohio here in my basement. But I really like my son's shoes because they are smaller, like kids' shoes are smaller. And by the way, if you're not like me and you don't keep everything, if you're not a bag lady and a box lady keeping all of these things, then go to a shoe store, any shoe store. I guarantee you in the back, they will have loads of shoe boxes and they will gladly give some to you. Barbara said the lining is tricky. Yeah, it is. That's why go ahead and watch that video and you can kind of see it is a little tricky and it's also tedious and cumbersome. And some people just hate it. I think it's kind of meditative as part of the process of making soap. But if I had to line multiple batches a day, that's when you're just like, nope, not going to do it. I'm going to graduate to a type of mold that is a standard size. You get multiple of the same size. Silicone lined molds, I would say, are probably the most popular. It's a wood frame with the silicone liner, right? But those are a little bit more expensive. Nurture Soap does have some really nice ones. If you look under products, soap. Oops, Windows. My windows are going crazy. Products, soap molds, complete mold sets. What that means is it's a frame, a liner, sometimes a lid, maybe not some of these, but yeah, these are considered sets. I do have a couple of these, like this one, something like that. And they're very well made, definitely. They'll last a long time. I'm not sure what your name is, but it says iPhone was asking about vitamin E oil. Would you use vitamin E acetate or tocopherol? So great question about what type of vitamin E oil to use. I actually don't use vitamin E oil in my soap. And the reason is that I went to a soap conference years ago with Kevin Dunn, who is a scientist who the soap making community has adopted. And he actually did a scientific paper on this, on do certain things add to the shelf life, or that's why people use it, right? As an antioxidant, which is something that's going to extend the shelf life of anything oil-based, like a soap. And there are people that used to use vitamin E in soap, and it doesn't matter what kind, the acetate, the tocopherol, whatever it is, vitamin E, he has proven, does not hold through the soap making process, meaning it didn't help the shelf life at all. It doesn't make it. Like, the lye is pretty harsh and it kind of can, for lack of a better word, kill certain things, right? Like if you get it on your skin, it'll burn right through the tissue, which is why it's dangerous in its raw form. That's why we, put on our gloves and goggles and we're very careful about the process. But for an antioxidant, the one that you want to use, the one that does make it through the process, is this one here on my list, the ROE Rosemary Oleo Resin Extract. that is the one that it's natural. It works. It's not too expensive. You don't need very much of it. I use it in both my CP 101 e-class and my new one with the oil blend. So actually I don't know if it's on the, yeah, this is the handout from that class. So this is one of the like 18 pages in that class. So yeah, I do use it here. It gives any oil a longer shelf life. Mixed tocopherols or T50 is what I use in anything that's not lye involved. So lotions, creams, massage oils, lip balm, you can use what's called T50 or a mixed tocopherols. That's the kind that I use in that. All right. And Lauren asked if I could tell more about the upcoming workshop. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just speak to this for a couple minutes and then I will wrap it up so that everybody could get back to what they've got going on today. But I do appreciate all of you who are here. Thank you so much for joining me and being here while I talk about my favorite thing, which is soap making. So this is the virtual soap making weekend that I did it once last year, and it was a lot of fun. Basically what it is we block out a weekend where we say, okay, I want to make soap. I want to make soap personally for the holidays. This date of November 13th, it's actually Veterans Day weekend. Some people have that Friday off, some people don't, but this is, the Friday class is only 1 hour at night. It's like a prep, like just make sure we're ready. But basically this is, I want to make sure to make soap before it's too late. I mean, I'm a busy mom, I have a business, I have a lot of other things I'm trying to do. And sometimes my favorite things like making soap, they get pushed down the priority list and I don't get to them. And that makes me sad. And for the holidays, there's nothing better than soap as a gift to me. I just really truly believe that. So that is my favorite gift to give people, man, woman, child, it doesn't matter who you are, there's a soap that you will love. And so if you just want to make a bunch of soap for the holidays, I put 40 bars because with the optional supplies that you can get, you can either get them as part of the class. I just will forward your order on to Nurture Soap and they'll ship it to your house, or you can get it without the supplies and you can go there and place your order. I just want to make sure you do it in time, right? But this 8-pound container of oil and this 2-pound container of lye will give you about 40 bars. Each batch that I do is 4 pounds. So we'll be making 2 4-pound batches, or I should say you'll be making 2 4-pound batches. And basically how it works is you get, as soon as you sign up, you get the e-class, you get the one that I just did, the soap making with an oil blend, you get this one. So whether or not you've taken our CP 101, this is different than that. You get this, which is a $49 on its own e-class that has so much information for you. It's got an 18-page handout with every area from start to finish. You don't need any other researching or information at all. And then you get to watch me make 2 videos in last year's virtual soap making weekend. So I think it was Shawana that messaged me and said, what should I do in preparation for this boot camp? Well, what you can do is you can start watching these videos. You can print the handout that you got, and you can start watching these videos. It's a little over 4 hours. So don't feel like, oh my God, I don't have 4 hours of free time. You don't have to watch both of them. You can just watch one of them. This one is 1 hour. This one is about 2 hours. Watch one or both. We also have a part 2 to them where you can see the soap later, right? That I cut it so that you can see what it actually looks like. And actually I might show you this because this is kind of a thing that unless you've purchased one of our e-classes, you wouldn't know what this is like, but this is videos for, here we go. Oh, that's not it. this one, using an oil blend. So the e-class or the virtual soap making weekend, they both come with all of this. Okay. The e-class is just more of a do it yourself on your own at your own pace, like nobody else is involved type of thing. It's the lavender batch and the comfort and joy batch, plus that 18-page handout. So just to show you, this is the video page where you would come and you would watch. So this is the making demo video, which is an hour. This is the cutting one, which is about 14 minutes. This is the making of the comfort and joy, which is 2 whole hours, because I talk about all kinds of things like using micas, doing the layers, doing the mica line, doing texture. You see all that, and we do the entire process again. This is where I did the mica detail on that one. And then this one is where I'm cutting, beveling, just talking about all kinds of other things. So you have access to these videos, no matter which one you get, you have access to them as often and as many times as you want. The difference between just the e-class and the virtual soap making weekend is that we're going to be coming together that weekend, right? It's basically like similar like this, where we're on Zoom together, and Friday night from 8 to 9 Eastern time, so that's my time, or 5 o'clock Pacific time, we're going to make sure we're ready to go for the weekend. The goal is to make soap on the weekend. So this hour is really for you to ask any additional questions that you have. Make sure you're just kind of ready to go. Then on Saturday, I'm going to be actually making a demo batch. I haven't yet decided what scent or color or anything like that, but it won't be the same thing as the lavender one or this one. I want to do something different. But it's going to be 2 hours from 3 to 5 my time, 12 to 2 Pacific time. And I'm going to be down in my basement on Zoom like this, seeing you, talking to you while I'm doing it. If you feel comfortable doing your process at the same time as you're watching me do my process, then you can do that. That can be a thing where we're doing it together. That's all going to be on your comfort zone, though. I don't know if you would feel comfortable watching me and also doing it yourself, because you have to have your computer nearby. You have to be able to see it. You're going to have your gloves and goggles on. You're dealing with a lie. It may be better for you to do it outside of that time. You can just decide on that on your own. But that's what I'm going to be doing, a demo and also answering more questions. So again, if you're not ready yet, you can ask more getting ready questions at the end of that one. Then on Sunday, same time, 3 to 5 Eastern, 12 to 2 Pacific, I'm hoping to unmold the soap that I made the day before. Hopefully it'll be ready, and we can talk about how it went. So ideally, you would be making your soap between that Friday night Zoom session and the Sunday Zoom session. So it can be anytime Saturday, or it can be, Sunday morning, whenever you think. And you'll be making probably one batch at a time. So 1 4-pound batch. You can make both. You can make one and then wait to see what I do and then make another one. You can really do it however you want to. Yvonne, you got to run. That's totally fine. Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. But yeah, so you can go to this page if you want to read a little bit more about it. We do have an early bird that is expiring tonight. It's to save $50 off of the cost of the whole thing, whether or not you get supplies, you get that same discount. But it's really just, do you want to make soap for the holidays, and do you want a group to do it with? Do you want, if you're like me and you're remote and you don't have maybe any soap friends nearby, and you kind of want to, have a group experience, but you're going to be where you are in your basement. If you're like me, I'm in my basement. So, all right. Well, I see one other question. How much do you use per pound of oil? I'm assuming you're talking about scent there. Oh no, ROE. Yes. It's on, all of my instruction sheets have that, but, if you don't have one of those yet, I think it's about 1 teaspoon, something like that. I don't have that handout in front of me, but it's about 1 teaspoon for a 4-pound batch. It's not much. It's a pretty small percentage. So cost-wise, it's not expensive. Okay, excellent. All right. Well, if there's are there any other burning questions that anybody would like to ask before we say goodbye? And then we will follow up with an email. It might take us a day or so to get the recording and upload it and share a link about that. But if anybody has any questions, you can always email me and Cassie at email@thenovastudio.com. I'll put that in the chat. And yeah. Oh, awesome. Lauren's going to sign up for the virtual soap making weekend and start getting everything ready. Excellent. Yeah, really what this is anybody who wants to make soap who hasn't done it yet, you might just need a push, right? You might just need a reason, an excuse. If it's just left up to you, it might just keep getting pushed down the road. And that's what happens with me. So I'm doing this virtual soap weekend as much for myself as I am for other people, but I really do love making stuff with other people. And, if you can't do it in person, virtual is the next best thing. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you to anybody who's watching the replay on this, and keep in touch with us. You can always find us at www.thenovastudio.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and have a great weekend. Hope to see you in the future. And thanks, Cassie, for all your help. Bye, everybody.